Alright, before the video starts, last week for week 18 I went 10-6, putting my final record for the regular season at 192 and 80. And with that out of the way, we'll start off the NFL playoffs. Super Wild Card Weekend is going to start on Saturday afternoon, Chargers at Texans. And I'm going to spend a little more time. I'm going to spend more time on these since there's less games and they're significantly more important. So the Chargers, they had a very good season. They went 11-6, first season under Jim Harbaugh. And that was coming off of a year where they went 5-12. So huge improvement from them, despite the fact that they lost Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and Austin Eckler on the offensive side of the ball. Justin Herbert didn't struggle too much without those guys, so it was a big year for him. And, I mean, this team could be a very dangerous team if they can win this game. They'll be a feisty team when it comes to the playoffs, assuming they win this matchup. And as for the Texans, I don't know. They went 10-7, which I don't think is a bad season. They won their division, which, I mean, their division kind of sucks ass, but, winning the division is still winning the division, which means they get to host a playoff game. And the reason it's underwhelming is just because CJ Stroud had these extremely lofty expectations heading into his second season. And the reality is, you don't automatically go uphill when you're an NFL player. It's a lot easier to go from bad to good than it is to go from good to great, and that's kind of what we're experiencing with the Texans. Now, I do think they will be fine next year because they did have a lot of injuries occur. Tank Dell had a very bad injury a few weeks ago. He might not play the next season. Stephon Diggs had a season-ending injury. Nico Collins missed some time. So it definitely wasn't smooth sailing for the Texans all year round. So I can kind of understand why they struggled, just because the injuries can mess up a team. And, I think they'll be fine next year. I do think the Chargers are going to win this one because I think they're a better team. And I trust Justin Herbert more than I trust CJ Stroud at this current moment in time. And also Jim Harbaugh is a way more experienced coach than DeMeco Ryans is. So I'm going to take the Chargers to win this one with a score of 27-20. Alright, moving to Saturday night, we have the Steelers taking on the Ravens. The Steelers, they had a good season, but they have lost 4 in a row heading up to this point. And it's kind of confusing with this team because, they were 10-3 at one point, and they were probably going to win the AFC North, but then they kind of just choked the division away. And the Ravens ended up taking advantage of that, and now they're the winners of the division. So the Steelers, they're in this situation where they win 9 or 10 games, maybe 11 every single year, but they don't really do anything more than that. And they also aren't worse than 9 wins because Mike Tomlin always has a winning season, which is impressive, but I feel like that's hindering this team because they're never good enough to win a Super Bowl, and they're never bad enough to get a high draft pick, which can help this team a lot. So they're just stuck in the, glass half. They're one of those teams where it's glass is half full, but it's more 2/3 full or 3/4 full maybe. So you convince yourself that this team can win a Super Bowl because they have a good defense with TJ Watt. But at the same time, when your offense is led by Russell Wilson and inconsistent weapons, it kind of just doesn't matter. And as for the Ravens, they most definitely can win a Super Bowl. You have Lamar Jackson, obviously. He's been on this team for years now. He's an unbelievable player. Pairing him with Derrick Henry is just a recipe for disaster for opposing defenses because you just have to pick your poison. You can't stop them both. You got to pick one and hope that you guess right. and it's just been a nightmare for opposing defenses. Lamar is obviously in the MVP conversation. He could win his third MVP. It's between him and Josh Allen. And the Ravens, they're heating up at the right time. They started off kind of slow. They started 8-5, but they've won 4 in a row. They're kind of doing the opposite of what the Steelers are doing, because literally just 4 weeks ago, I mean, people probably were talking this way about the Steelers because they were playing more efficiently than the Ravens at that time. But, you know, all the NFL playoffs are is just you get hot at the right time, you can go on and win the Lombardi, and that's exactly what the Ravens are currently doing. They're getting hot at the right time. I mean, this is the best possible time to start playing your best ball, and that's what they're doing. And I could see this game going either way because it's an AFC North matchup, and the Steelers usually have the Ravens number, but just because of how each team has been playing, I'm going to go with the Ravens to win this one with a score of 20-10. All right, moving on to Sunday, we have the Broncos taking on the Bills. Broncos having a magical season, going 10-7 and blowing their preseason predictions way out of the water. I honestly thought this team was only going to win like 6, 7, 8 games, but no way did I expect them to make the playoffs. And the reason they made the playoffs is thanks to their offense that's better with Bo Nix and Courtland Sutton having good years. Bo Nix is going to be unbelievable for years to come. And our defense is led by Patrick Surtain, who will probably win Defensive Player of the Year. Nick Bonito, who is definitely coming into his own. And, you know, we're a gritty team. We're not the most talented team. There's definitely problems with this team, but we're finding ways to win, and I could not be happier as a Broncos fan. And we'll see if we can continue our winning ways into these playoffs. And as for the Bills, they also overperformed because everyone said that they were going to be rebuilding. People were saying that, like, you were going to be like not make the playoffs, not win the division and things like that. But, you know, they're the 2 seed, they're 13-4, and they're looking better than ever. And Josh Allen's looking like an MVP candidate. And James Cook is really coming into his own as a running back. And, you know, this is going to be actually a Von Miller revenge game. For those of you who don't know, Von Miller, who used to be a Denver Bronco for a long time, is on the Buffalo Bills currently. So we'll see how he plays. Hopefully not too well, because I like the Bills, but unfortunately they're playing my favorite team, so I kind of have to root against them as much as I can. And it pains me to do this because of how great of a season this has been, but I gotta pick the Bills. They need this so much more than the Broncos do. And it also comes down to the Bills. They've been there, done that. I trust Josh Allen way more than I trust Bo Nix, a rookie quarterback. Not that Bo Nix is bad. He's great, but, you know, he's no Josh Allen. Josh Allen is arguably the best quarterback in the NFL. And, I mean, he's just going to be impossible to stop. Our defense is good, but at the same time, when you have a quarterback like Josh Allen, it's really hard to stop a player like that. And we've also had problems on our offense having consistency on that side of the ball, which is natural. We're a young team with a rookie quarterback. That kind of just happens. So as much as I want to pick the Broncos and be a homer and all that, I just got to pick the Bills. And I got them winning this one. I got them winning this one with a score of 30-20. All right, after that game, we have the Packers taking on the Eagles. The Packers, they were able to improve on their record last season. They went from 9-8 to 11-6, but because of how insanely historic the NFC North has been, they're still the 7th seed, which, you know, you're still in the playoffs. You still got a chance to win that Lombardi. That's all you can ask for. So good for the Packers. What's not good is how bad they did against their division. They were 1-5 against other NFC North teams, which that is not good. And you just have to hope if you're the Packers, you don't run into, well, actually, you will have to run into the Lions if you end up winning this game because you're the 7 seed. So you just have to, you'll have to beat a division rival to make the Super Bowl if you're the Packers. And I mean, that's what they got their eyes set on. I mean, you've got Jordan Love, who's still a pretty good quarterback. You've got Josh Jacobs, who they acquired in the offseason, who's having a career year for them. And, they've just been able to get the job done. And their defense is actually not bad either. And that's weird to say because the Packers usually choke in the playoffs because of their bad defense, but their defense is actually pretty good this year. They don't have Joe Barry being the defensive coordinator. I know Packers fans know how bad he is, but he's not there anymore. And, all it takes is taking away one piece of the puzzle that's not working and inserting a piece that can get the job done. And that's essentially what I think the Packers did. And it's unfortunate for the Packers because their opponent, the Eagles, man, they are unbelievable. 14-3. They have one of the most talented rosters in NFL history. And, you got Saquon Barkley having a career year with his first year away from the Giants. He had 2,000 rushing yards. You have Jalen Hurts, who's still pretty, decent as a runner. He's not having the greatest year, but he's still a threat as a runner. So that's going to be beneficial for the Eagles. And, you had their problem with their head coach, Nick Sirianni, around like week 4 or week 5, because the Eagles were still winning, but they weren't winning very well. And that problem has kind of fixed itself because they're winning. And I think the only thing that could really haunt the Eagles is if Nick Sirianni starts doing his shit again, where he chirps at the media or chirps at fans or things like that, things that a coach should never be doing that he was doing. And if those problems do occur, I think it's going to be later. And I think that the Eagles will win this game with a score of 31-13. All right, on Sunday night, we have the Commanders taking on the Buccaneers. The Commanders having, kind of like the Broncos, they were not expected to be a good team. They had a rookie quarterback with Jaden Daniels, and they had a new head coach, and they had, things wrong with the team. And being 12-5 is absolutely insane for this team. So good for the Commanders for having the season that they've had. And the Bucs, they were able to win 10 games, and because of the Falcons choking away the NFC South, they were able to sweep right in and take over that division and get the 3 seed with a 10-7 record, which is kind of weird, but that's just how the NFL is sometimes. And I think this would be a really good game because, both teams have great offenses, and the Commanders, their defense kind of sucks, and the Bucs' defense can be suspect at times. So I could see this game being a shootout. And, you got the Commanders with Jaden Daniels. You've got Terry McLaurin, who finally has a quarterback, so that's good for him. And, it's just super impressive what the Commanders have been able to do. And as for the Bucs, you've got Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans. Bucky Irving is an unbelievable running back. He's a rookie running back that they drafted, and he has been an insane running back. So that's going to be, he's going to be a problem for the Commanders because, like I said, the Commanders' defense is not that good. And they also don't have a lot of talent on that side of the ball. The Bucs defense isn't great either, but they still have guys like Vita Vea, Antoine Winfield. They've got guys, but the Commanders, not really. They've got Marshawn Lattimore, but Marshawn Lattimore's past his prime. And yeah, speaking of Marshawn Lattimore, another revenge game. Marshawn Lattimore versus Mike Evans. So we'll see if they we'll see if they fight each other in this game. And I think the Bucks are going to win this game. I think they'll win a close one with a score of 33-27. And finally, we got the Vikings taking on the Rams, which this game's actually going to be played in Arizona because California's got a bunch of fires going on, so they can't play this game in Los Angeles, so it's going to be played in Arizona. So that's kind of a shitty hand for the Rams, especially considering who they're playing. The Vikings, they're a juggernaut on offense. And, you know, the Vikings, they had a dud in week 18, but that definitely does not take away anything that they've done this year. They've only lost 3 games, and 2 of those games were to the Lions, and 1 was to, ironically, the Rams. And Sam Darnold has really turned his career around this year. He has been having an MVP caliber season. You've obviously got Justin Jefferson on that side of the ball. That helps things out a little bit. You've got Aaron Jones that the Vikings were able to take away from the Packers. He's having a good year. And, I mean, the Rams, they have, you know, Kyren Williams. He's really good running back. You've got Puka Nacua, who got injured, but he came back, and he's an absolute stud. And, you know, they got their main guys. They've got Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Puka, and Kyren Williams. That offense can be an absolutely unstoppable unit at times, although they can be inconsistent. So that's like one of their few problems. And that's the same thing with the Vikings. Like the Vikings, despite their 14-3 record, they have had a lot of close calls. And not to take away what the Vikings have done, because it's unbelievably impressive, but like you have to be consistent when you get to the playoffs. And we'll see which team can be more consistent here. And I'm going to go with the Vikings because the Vikings, I think they're a better team than the Rams. They've had a slightly more consistent offense. I think Sam Darnold at this point in time is better than Matthew Stafford, and we'll see if this game makes that take age poorly, but I think he is. I think he's younger, he can run more, he has a better receiver to throw the ball to in Justin Jefferson, which doesn't matter a whole lot, but I think that could matter enough in this game to swing it to the Vikings. So I got the Vikings winning this one with a score of 27-24. And that's going to do it. Just to recap, I have the Chargers winning 27-20 against the Texans, the Ravens winning 20-10 against the Steelers, the Bills winning 30-20 against the Broncos, the Eagles 31-13 against the Packers, the Bucks 33-27 against the Commanders, and the Vikings 27-24 against the Rams. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you for my divisional round predictions.